I don't know about you, but I'm on a budget. Despite having so many plants and it being my main hobby, passion, interest, job, I actually don't spend that much money to take care of them. And I know this for a fact because I just finished doing all of my tax prep a few weeks ago, and I went through, all of my accounts, every single purchase, and yeah, I don't actually spend that much money to take care of my plants, which is a good thing, and it's something that I have been really focusing on, I guess, the past year, especially within the past 6 months. So I thought that this would be a really relevant topic to talk about. If there's anything that we can all relate to, it is that things are freaking expensive right now. And I already live in an expensive area, so I have just been trying to be so mindful, trying to stick to a budget, watch my expenses, really think about things, and honestly adopt a more minimalistic approach when it comes to the plant hobby. I'm really excited to share with you some of my thoughts and some of the things that I've been doing to not overspend while also taking care of my plants really well and enjoying them. I would really love for this video to create some dialogue and to become a resource for everyone, so leave a comment down below letting me know what you've been doing to save money regarding plants or just regarding anything, I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Not only have I been trying to save money when it comes to my plants, but also when it comes to my personal life, which brings me to today's sponsor, Harry's. Harry's offers high quality razors at an affordable price. I'm sure that most of us are all too familiar with just how expensive razors can be. Razor companies are charging these crazy prices because they can. People are paying it, so they continue to do it, not because they have to charge that much. Harry's, however, has factory direct pricing where they balance quality with affordability. They have their own factory in Germany where they've been making razor blades for 100 years. Saving money can be hard and frustrating at times, so it's really nice when you're able to get something that is of really high quality at an affordable price point. We do not have to skimp on razor quality, my friends. We can save money and have a razor that actually works. It's the best of both worlds. I've been using Harry's now for about a year, I believe. It might even be longer at this point, but the difference is so noticeable. I love using them so much. The shave is so close. My skin feels so smooth after. I'm so excited to keep using Harry's as we're going into short season, or short alls season for me. I love the weighted handle with the rubberized grip, and this puppy has 5 blades, so yeah, it works so well. I feel like I've been reborn after shaving with Harry's. Highly recommend them. If you would like to grab yourself a trial set, just click the link down below in the description and you will get it for only $5. Regular $13, but only $5 for the trial set. You can check them out and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay, so now to get into the plant money saving strategies or tips, I've kind of tried to break them into chunks, and one of the first themes that I have been implementing and kind of thinking about a lot is kind of like the idea of going back to basics or simplifying things a little bit. I think in the plant hobby, and I'm sure a lot of other hobbies, we tend to overcomplicate things. As soon as I got just a little bit deeper into plants, like I gained an interest in plants and started getting more plants, and then as soon as I just like fell down the rabbit hole a little bit more, I immediately wanted all of the different potting amendments. I wanted to try out like every single way to grow plants that there was. Soil, soilless, leca, pond, hydro, everything. I didn't even really understand what some of these things were or how they were designed to be used or what their purpose was. I would just buy like different potting amendments, throw them in my mix just because I saw other people doing it. So I felt like that was what I had to do too. Now, after being in this hobby for several years, I've kind of gone back to basics. Like my potting mix now, I know I've mentioned in some of my videos that I'm trialing like a slightly different potting mix. So what I'm using now is basically just like a bag of store-bought potting mix, just plain old indoor potting mix, perlite, and orchid bark. And that's it. So I've eliminated the extras like charcoal, pumice, leca, all of the different things that I used to like to throw in my mix. And it's fine if you want to put a lot of different things in your potting mix. Like, that's completely fine, and I'm not trying to tell anybody that one way is right, but just for me at this time, I'm just trying to be a little bit more minimalistic. And to be honest with you, I think that my plants are going to do just fine with it. I think that they're still gonna grow the same. And I've had people asking what I think of this potting mix that I've been using now for the past couple of months. And the answer is that I just haven't been using it long enough to be able to give like an accurate opinion. I've only had plants in it for like max 2 months, the ones that I put in it straight away. It is a little bit more dense, but I kind of prefer that because I am an underwaterer. So, you know, I could have added even more perlite to make it a little bit more fluffy. Don't get me wrong, it's not like super dense. It's still like an airy mix, but that was also another reason that I kind of want to do that, just to make it a little less chunky, because I was almost on the end of like being too chunky that I couldn't even keep up with watering it. Anyways, I think that it's going to serve the purpose. I think that my plants are going to do just fine in it. And it's just so easy and accessible. So yeah, that's what I'm doing currently for potting mix. I am still adding my slow release fertilizer just because I have it. I have a big bucket of it to use up. So I've just been throwing that in. And it's just kind of like an insurance thing in case I get super overwhelmed by watering in the summer, say, and I don't have time to be mixing my fertilizer water up, then my plants still have a little bit of an extra boost. And using like a store-bought indoor potting mix, it has organic compounds in it, so it's not like when I was just using coco coir and it didn't have anything like that and I had to like religiously keep up with my fertilizing. This I can be a little bit more lenient because the plants do have some food right in their potting mix. I still use my liquid fertilizer, of course, but I don't have to be like as religious with it as I was being. I'm also adding in some of my myco just because I have it and I want to use it up. And to be honest, you guys, I don't know if I've noticed like a big difference with the plants that I've used myco in. I honestly don't know. I don't think I'll repurchase it. It's so hard with plant things because it's hard to tell sometimes whether something is really working or not. But for me, I don't know. I don't think it's completely necessary for me. So like if I can't notice that it's making a big difference, then I can't really like justify purchasing it again. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see how I feel once I'm finished with the bag, but right now I'm not in a rush to repurchase that. Anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is I know how fun it is and how tempting it is to want to buy all of these things that we see everyone using, and we want to try out different things, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I will of course continue to like try out different things for myself. But just right now, I'm just trying to reel it back in a little bit and just keep things simple. Let me know if you think that the plant community overcomplicates things and where you kind of stand on that. Do you opt for the very basics? Do you like to get a little bit more fancy with your potting mixes and things like that? Kind of on that note too is me with semi-hydro. Like I went through my leca phase where I was trying to convert plants to leca and make that work, and it just didn't go well. They just kept rotting, and you know, I tried and tried multiple times, couldn't really figure it out. I bought like, you know, different types of leca multiple times, couldn't ever really figure it out. And same with pon. I mean, I do still have some plants in pon, but it's just not my favorite way to grow. And I don't know, I think I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I just like growing in soil. That's just like that's just my preferred medium, and I'm okay with that. Just because I see other people having a lot of success in semi-hydro doesn't mean like I need to force myself to grow like that as well. You can kind of just do whatever feels right for you and whatever fits your lifestyle. Kind of related to that, the next topic is about like experimenting with different things that you see going around. I like to try out new things and buy fun plant things and experiment with them just as much as the next person. And a good example of this would be fluval stratum. I have been eyeing fluval stratum for months now, and if you're not familiar with it, it's a product that's made for aquariums, like aquatic plants, I believe. It's like this, I don't know if it's clay or something, but it has minerals and whatnot in it. Anyways, plants root really well in it, like cuttings, and people grow alocasia corms in it and have really great success. So I've been tempted to buy it, but it's pretty freaking expensive, so I just haven't pulled the trigger. But But I was thinking about it and I'm like, do I really need this? I propagate my plants just fine in either water or perlite. I grow my alocasia corms in perlite and I have, you know, pretty high success, like almost 100% success with the corms that I grow. So why do I need to go out and buy this expensive thing just to try out? Like it's kind of like if it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing. Like I already have perlite, I already have water. Perlite's super cheap. I reuse perlite. I don't know if you can reuse fluval stratum. I feel like you can't, but because I feel like the minerals get like used up after a certain amount of time, but I'm not sure on that. But I know that I can reuse perlite. And yeah, I don't know, that it's just like an easy, like simple way to propagate that I've used for years now. So is it fun to try something new? Yes. Will I probably eventually splurge and try something like fluval? Yes. But do I need to do that like right now? No. And it just comes back to like seeing other people doing this like online and things. And you know, it's so tempting when you see other people using all of these like cool different things that maybe you want to try out too. But we just have to think about whether what we want to be spending our money on and whether we really need things or not, whether we already have something that's gonna work just as well. I'm not sitting here trying to be the Grinch and take every ounce of joy out of keeping plants and like buying new things for our plants, because I know that that's part of the hobby and I love buying new things too. But I'm just trying to, I guess, prioritize where I'm spending that money. Like right now I'm really into finding cute pots for my plants. So if it comes between, like I only have a limited budget, right? If I bought every single thing I wanted for my plants, I would be flat broke. Less than, I would be freaking like thousands of dollars in debt. But if I have a limited amount of money, would I rather buy like a pot that's something that I can keep forever, that I know I really want, something that's like on my list of things that I want to be spending money on and prioritizing, or do I want to buy something that I don't really need, like I already have something else that's going to work for that purpose? I'm also just trying to use everything up before I replace it or before I buy a new one of those things. So for example, fertilizer, the past couple months I've been very tempted to try out a couple of new fertilizers, but when I really thought about it, I'm like, I don't need another liquid fertilizer. I already have my general hydroponics, I already have my GrowTech Pro Max? Vitamax Pro, that's what it's called. Plus my slow release fertilizer. Like I don't technically need fertilizer. I have fertilizers I can use. I just want to try different fertilizers, and that's the difference. So I'm trying to tell myself that I have to use up all of the fertilizers that I have. So once my general hydroponics is done, then like, okay, I can try the Dynagrow Foliage Pro or whichever one I want to try. I will say I do have a new fertilizer in the mail on the way to me right now, but it's different than my liquid fertilizers. It's a little bit different, so I'll talk about that when it shows up. Anyways, I just feel like it's a good habit and a good mindset for me to get into, to actually like finish things before I either replace it or try like a new version of that product, because I don't need like 5 or 6 different liquid fertilizers sitting here that I also don't have the space for it, and it's also just like wasteful if I'm not using them all up. I'm also trying to not replace things until they're like basically finished or finished, because I just don't want things piling up. I don't like running out of things and not having it, but if I just am staying organized and like keeping track of what is almost finished and what I need to replace, again, it's just putting that like mindfulness piece into it, you know, rather than just grabbing things and stockpiling them. I also try to stretch my fertilizer a little bit further by watering my plants into each other. So when I have them at the sink and I'm pouring water into one, I'll hold it and let it drain into a different plant that's already sitting in the sink, which is something I've done for a long time. And I've had people comment before and say that they don't like doing that because it could like transfer pests to the other plant or whatever. But I don't really care. My plants are so close together. Like most of them, the leaves are touching already. So if one has pests, then, you know, others are going to get it as well. So I'm just not too worried about that. And I've never really noticed that spreading pests. So it's just something I do. Fertilizer water is valuable, and it's kind of silly to be mixing up a whole watering can or jug of fertilizer water and then dumping it onto a plant, and then all that water is just coming out and going down the drain. Like, no. I want that to be going into my other plants. And it's also saving water too. Also, reusing things is a big one, and this is something that I see so much in the plant community, and I freaking love it. We are honestly the best at repurposing household items or recycling things, upcycling things. Like, we are very good at that as a community. So I love that. But yeah, takeout containers are like gold. They're perfect for propagation containers. I save, you know, plastic cups, glass jars, of course nursery pots, all kinds of random things. I save like the droppers from my skincare to portion my fertilizer out. Just random things. And if y'all watched my video where I upgraded my Hoya linearis into its new pot, I had such a hard time finding a nursery pot to fit in the cover pot, and what happened to fit almost perfectly was a yogurt container. So now I'm like extra on the lookout for what containers are like plant pot shaped and sized, because it can be so hard to find nursery pots that fit into cover pots well. So it's a good idea to just, you know, keep your eye out on whatever like food containers or any type of containers really that could work for that. My biggest struggle with keeping these types of things is just space. But I try to make it work. Like, I still keep a lot of containers and I just kind of shove them wherever I can fit them. In one of my vlogs recently, I had a bunch of cardboard that I had been keeping because, like, cardboard boxes, because they were the perfect size and shape for shipping plants. And we're going into plant trade season, so I was really trying to keep them, but then they were just driving me crazy. I didn't have space. And then somebody commented that they keep theirs, they flatten them and then put them behind their couch. And I thought that that was so freaking genius. I don't know why I've never thought about it, but now behind my couch is full of flattened cardboard boxes, and I'm so happy I didn't have to get rid of them. I can keep them. I can just pull them out when I need to ship plants or do whatever. So yeah, just like creative thinking like that. So thank you to whoever commented that. Or under the couch as well, and I do keep things under my couch. I actually keep my like my thickly grow poles, because they just come as flat pieces of plastic, so they can just slide under the couch so easily, and yeah, it's just handy. I recently posted on my vlog channel a house tour of my place, where it's not like a plant tour. I wasn't showing the plants, I was just showing like everything else in my house and how I organize things and store things and some of my decor and stuff. So I showed some of the like ways that I store things in this really small space. So if you're interested, you can go check that out. But yeah, I obviously like to be able to keep things and reuse things. So finding creative ways to store them is very important. Also, speaking of plant trades, that is the cheapest way to get new plants. I mean, sometimes if you're not in the same area, then you do have to ship the plants and you have to pay for shipping, but still, you're usually getting like a box full of new plants, and it's also just so much fun. It's a great way to make plant friends, and it's always so much more special getting a plant that comes from a plant friend, you know what I mean? Also, if you are trying to save up for a wish list plant, something that I used to do is sell plants or sell cuttings and then put that in a specific like fund or envelope or whatever to save up for the new plant that you want. Then you're just using your like plant money for your plant. Okay, we're going back to plant supplies, and the next thing I just wanted to touch on is reusing things. I reuse pretty much all of my potting mix stuff except for some of my like soil mixes. If I'm like repotting a plant in soil and the soil mix is like a couple years old, then I will just switch it out for new stuff. But if it's like a year or so or less than that, then I just reuse it. I just like dump it into the new pot and reuse it, and I think that that's totally fine. I always reuse things like sphagnum moss, perlite, any like semi-hydro thing, leca pon. Those things are so easy to just boil, and it cleans them, it gets most of the algae and everything off, and then you can just reuse it. I'm constantly boiling sphagnum moss and perlite. It is like, it's always building up and I have to boil it and then put it away and store it. But I have not bought sphagnum moss since 2020, you guys. 2020! And you see how much I use like with my moss poles and everything. It's just lasted me for so long because I'm constantly recycling it and just using it over again. And sphagnum moss is one of the most expensive things right now. I actually do finally need to repurchase some. And I went to look at the prices. The last time I bought moss in 2020, I bought a bale about this big and I paid $70, and I felt like that was a lot, because it is. And now for that same bale or block of it, it's $122. So prices have just gone up so crazy. So seriously, keep every strand of sphagnum moss, keep it and reuse it. Not only for our wallets, but also for the environment. Sphagnum is something that is not very environmentally friendly, so it's so important for us to be reusing it as much as we can. And if you're wondering how I boil it, I literally just stick it in a pot, boil it for about 15-20 minutes. I would do like the full 20 minutes if you're concerned about anything like pests, but I usually just do mine for like probably around 15 minutes, because the reason I boil it is mostly to get like the algae or like any mold or anything that's on it off. And then I just put it in a strainer, let it sit in the sink for a little bit, and then I just store it in a plastic tub, which I keep the lid off of because I want it to be able to breathe and like air out and dry and everything. But yeah, same for perlite and everything. I'm just constantly reusing those things. There's also a lot of stuff in the plant hobby that you can DIY, which will save you money. Like you can make your own trellises with just a roll of wire, which I've done. Oh, I actually put my one of my peperomias on one of my DIY trellises. Just a sec. Okay, this is my peperomia parallel, and I noticed it was growing just so crazy because the vines were getting longer. It used to just be standing up, but then it was kind of, going all over the place. So I just popped it on this little wire trellis, which is just like a plain wire that I bent to be, like a horseshoe shape, and stuck it in the pot, and it's actually quite sturdy. I just got a roll of wire from Home Depot and some wire cutters, and is it the most pretty fancy thing? No, but this plant is eventually gonna cover the wire anyways, so you're not even really gonna see it. And I think it looks fine, honestly. Like, I'm super happy with this. I used to also have my Hoya Mathilde on a wire trellis, like a circle wire trellis that I just made myself as well, and you couldn't even see the trellis because that plant just got so bushy. I made that one in a Patreon video, actually. That was the first time I tried to DIY it, and yeah, it's super simple. You just bend wire. Of course, it's nice to treat ourselves to like the fancy, cuter trellises sometimes as well, but I got a lot of plants, and in a pinch, something like that works super well for me. There's a lot of popular DIY things, like making our own moss poles. I even make my own orchid mist now for my Hoyas, because it's like $8 a bottle for the... I had to go and grab it. I couldn't remember what brand it was. The Miracle Grow Orchid Plant Food Mist. Yeah, I just make this myself now. If I'm using this consistently for my Hoyas, and now I guess I have an orchid, but if I'm using this consistently, I will go through this so fast. So honestly, a couple of bottles of these a month. So I don't want to have to be buying this every 2 weeks, and it's also just more plastic, and yeah, I'm just not about that. So I just find it really easy I made up a big batch of my own, and I just refill this bottle now. Speaking of that, I know I was going to make a whole video of an experiment comparing the Miracle Grow one to the DIY one, and I can still do that. I just fell off of using this consistently, so I didn't end up filming that video. But honestly, you guys, I think that it's the exact same thing, and this is 0.02, 0.02, 0.02 for the NPK. And so is the one that I make. So I feel like it should just be the exact same thing. I think my DIY one works just as well. That's what's inside of here right now. But yeah, just little things like that over time add up and make a really big difference. And then we have more money to buy fun things like new plants and plant pots and planty decor and stuff like that. The last thing that really helps me is something that I have talked about a lot in the past, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's just appreciating our plants, the ones that we currently have, and keeping ourselves busy with enjoying them and doing different plant tasks and taking care of them, and just really being immersed in that rather than feeling tempted to make purchases that we don't necessarily need. I love doing things like propagating or rearranging my plants or making a list of plant projects that I want to work on. Like every year I do my plant goals and everything, and I just encourage doing those types of things to appreciate your plants more. So yeah, I won't go on and on about it because I know I have talked about that in multiple videos. I just think that it's so important to just really appreciate all of the plants that we have, especially if you're like me and you have a big collection. Like, there is no reason why I should be feeling like I need more. Like, I'm so lucky and I'm so content with everything that I have. And I just want to enjoy what I have and, you know, use up all of the products I currently have, and then I can look forward to trying out new things in the future. This is just how I'm trying to think now, because living is expensive. And we're just in a time when things are more expensive than usual. So we have to kind of adapt. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, leave a comment, leave me your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Thank you to Harry's for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out the link in the description box if you are interested in picking up a trial set for only $5. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!